on this. Please click. Okay, so welcome to our first inaugural virtual seminar with interview really with Dr. Olson. Dr. Olson has been a chiropractor. How many years, sir? 14?
16.
16 years. He's based, his main clinic is in Des Moines, Iowa. He's built an unbelievable team with him there. And, you know, I was very impressed with not only your clinic, what you're doing, but also how you're implementing softwave. So give us a little background history, Doc, on why you're a chiropractor and your little bit of your background, please.
Yeah. So I guess the why I'm a chiropractor is kind of a strange ordeal. It's I was an athletic trainer in college and was getting to my senior year, and I knew having a family was going to be important to me. So I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with my life. And my dad had mentioned chiropractic. He said he knew how stubborn I was and how I didn't like to be told what to do, I guess, through all the years of growing up in his house. So he said, you know, you might want to look at chiropractic. You could be your own boss, you know, make your own hours and make some decent money. And I said, okay, I'll take a look at it. And so I figured it with my interest in helping rehab, you know, athletes and stuff anyway, I could take that and just move that into a chiropractic profession and continue doing what I love doing, but just not have to work 80 to 100 hours a week. So that kind of started me down the path of chiropractic. And luckily, I didn't really know much about chiropractic. So I think I went to the right school at the time, which I would not want to go to again. But
you went to National. You went to National, correct? In
yes,
Chicago?
I went to National. So lots of luckily there were lots of people that kind of thought like me because I didn't really have any understanding of chiropractic. So had I been taught the principle and philosophy right away, I may have been turned off by it because it just was so far from where I was at that time. So it took me about 9 years in practice before I actually learned the principles and philosophy of chiropractic, which then totally transformed my practice. We started to actually preach chiropractic for the first time, which was, you know, kind of mind-blowing to me that I'd been a chiropractor for nearly a decade and still had no idea what chiropractic actually was. So that really set me down on a path of really teaching people about the human body and how it functions, and, you know, all the things to do with health and healing. And so I did that. I joined a group. First time I had coaching then, and did that for about 4 years.
Hold on.
Yeah.
First off, we skipped a big part. He's son of a preacher man, right? Isn't there a song like that? I'm son of a preacher man. And I love your story because not only that, my dad was the same way. He told I had 2 older brothers, and he was like, you guys should either be podiatrists or chiropractors because everybody's got feet and everybody's going to need chiropractor. And my dad loved our chiropractor, Dr. Antonucci. But your dad, preacher, and you went on to your first 9 years. You struggled. I mean, you weren't knocking it out of the park, correct?
Not at all. No, it's
and so
we were getting by.
You had a few children at that point, at 9 years in.
Probably had 3 at that point. Yeah.
Okay, and then you joined a coaching group. I think it was Maximize Living. Is that correct?
Yep, correct.
And so they make you become excellent communicators and educators in your community. I think MLM. I probably had 2 more ML docs that joined the softwave this past week, and the floodgates are opening. The word is out within Maximize Living crew, and one of the things that I loved is I got to sit in the car for 3 hours and talk with Dr. Olson on the way down to his Kansas City office. He's a very humble gentleman. He's got a lot to teach others. So you get into ML, you really start learning principles, systems, philosophy, how to educate your community, and go on. So when did you start doing some numbers? Tell us some numbers too. Like, were you seeing 100 people a week, 200?
Yeah, I mean, before Max Living, we'd had some good months here or there, but on average, we averaged about 65 a week. So it was nothing crazy. And so when we joined Max Living then started to, first, I mean, I didn't even join because of the chiropractic stuff. I thought they were all kind of crazy at first, but as I started to work with them and learn from them, and, you know, it just they really helped to grow me, my mindset, as well as just the understanding of chiropractic, and getting into the green books and just really starting to understand the human body. And so we end up going from about 65 a week to about 225, 250 a week 4 years later. And that's where we really start to get some, decent income. I mean, we're doing 35, 40,000 a month, pretty typical. So, so that was a huge jump for us. I mean, and for our lifestyle, just being able to, continue to provide for the family and that sort of stuff. But for me, I've always been about learning and trying to find, what else can I do to help people. And so ML really gave me the cornerstone as far as understanding how to take someone through a process and get them out of the insurance mindset and into paying out of pocket for things. And so that really helped me when my next jump. Then I got into Blueprint to Practice Automation, and that was 3.5 years ago that we joined them. So I joined Blueprint, then basically just looked at it as another way to bring in some additional revenue to the clinic. So
let me just stop you there.
Yeah.
One of the coolest things about that was they had an automated system, and that's something that we want to also do, So tell us a little bit. I mean, you're also a coach with Blueprint Automation, correct? Aaron Gum
Yep.
is the founder and CEO, wonderful, brilliant mind. And they have different verticals within that you can teach. They have weight loss, correct? That you can offer
Yep.
to your community. Neuropathy is their big one. I think they have a regeneration type option as well. And decompression, I'm pretty sure, correct?
Yeah, I think I want to say 20 different avenues you can take with it.
So you really dove deep into neuropathy, which is dear to my heart, and you just kind of blew up the numbers. You got into Blueprint, you started helping people. Tell me some numbers, like how many new neuropathy patients per month you might be doing, or you were doing, and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so when we joined Blueprint, obviously we were, like I said, about 35, 40K a month. We joined Blueprint with basically my goal was, hey, if we can get a couple closes a month, it'd really increase our bottom line, bringing in an extra, 10, 15,000 a month. So that was kind of my mindset going in. And once I got into it, started training with people and started to hear what other guys were doing. It really just kind of, once again, took my mindset to a whole different level again. If you're around people that are playing small, you're going to play small too. So I got around the guys that were doing the biggest numbers in Blueprint. I just stuck by their side and picked their brain and just really just kind of absorbed what they were talking about, because my mind couldn't even fathom that at the beginning. And so
then these guys were doing 100, 110,000 a month just in decompression, correct? I mean, sorry, neuropathy.
Yeah,
some even more.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, when I joined, it was about November of 2019 when I first started seeing some neuropathy patients. In December, we hit like 50,000, which was I think our best month ever in practice at the time. So that was exciting. And then one of the coaches threw out a challenge in 2020. And so we ended up basically almost tripling our practice in 2020. So
even during COVID?
During COVID, yeah. So we went from, I don't know, 450, 460 in collections to like 1.2 in 2020. So so it was pretty phenomenal.
When everybody else was kind of not doing marketing, folding up, you guys were doubling down, tripling down.
Yeah.
And what did you find? Say again, sorry.
I was going to say that was with people walking out of my office because we refused to wear masks. Probably could have had a little bit more collections, but I wanted to stand my ground as long as possible.
So tell me, I don't know if you want to, I mean, the numbers you're doing right now are phenomenal. I'm not sure if you want to share them. This is a closed group. You're welcome to do that. But maybe you can do it with new patients. So what type of numbers you seeing from new patients now?
Yeah, I mean, new patients now, last year we averaged just about 80 new neuropathy a month. So with our other things we do as well, probably close to 100 new patients a month. So.
And what type of ad spend? Like how did you create this? Can you give us a little insight? and I'll kind of share what the numbers are in Atlanta, what we do, and then, you know, give these guys an idea, because what I want them to get away from is, you know, there's so many of us in, especially softwave view, that we pay $1,000, $1,500 a month for a digital marketing agency, and then we spend $500 to $750 on ad spend, right?
Yeah.
Give these guys some numbers of what you're doing to like, what are you spending to make money?
Yeah. So yeah, with marketing, I mean, this is where a lot of people in any realm in healthcare get hung up is uh, they don't want to spend the money, and part of it is because most people don't charge enough for their services. So obviously, charging, you know, what your services are worth is key to making a better ROI. But the other aspect with marketing is find something that's working, continue to build that, but at the same time, always be looking for other avenues. If you get solely dependent on one area, like Facebook is the easy one, right? You pay some company, they'll throw ads on there for you, and you're like, hey, we got some new patients, great. But the only problem is next month Facebook decides to change the whole algorithm, and then you're screwed and you have no new patients coming in, and you just don't know what to do. So always be increasing what's working, but always be looking for other avenues. So, I mean, obviously this has been over almost 3.5 years now, but I mean, we're spending about 35, 40K a month right now in marketing with across several realms.
Yeah, and you're using, what I like is you have a faceted approach. So I fly into Des Moines, Iowa. I don't know, it was like I don't know, maybe a Tuesday night. And I'm in my hotel, and Dr. Bowers knows this deal, right? And I'm just getting ready for the next day, and I just want to find out what the weather is. And so I throw the evening news on, and there's Dr. Olson. Hey, you know, Central Iowa neuropathy, right? And I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to see that guy tomorrow. And I'm like, and then in the morning, I'm done showering, I'm getting dressed, and I've got the news on, and then there's Dr. Olson again, and I'm like, man, this dude's a rock star. And you know, TV is something that a lot of us are missing. I love TV in Atlanta. It's a little more expensive than I like it to be, but with the commercial, I mean, with the politics over right now, we have a little chance to make a dent. What type of numbers you doing just kind of in TV, would you say? And you make yourself that dude, right? I mean, you are the rock star in your area when it comes to neuropathy.
Yeah, and it's just getting out there and you know, doing commercials, doing interviews, doing anything I possibly can. So once again, it's something that's built up over 3 years. I didn't just start off doing that. I mean, I started off with probably 2,000 maybe total a month on TV or something like that. So I was like, oh, I just want one station. I want these 2 TV shows, you know, so it's very specific what I did. And then I started to get more generalized and increase my ad spend. So we're about 12K a month in TV right now.
And how many different stations are you finding that you're using? Is there a better?
Pretty much just the standard ones we use right now. You know, so ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox has not been the best, but we do a little bit on that. But
do you find a better show? Do you like the news, or do you just let these guys pick random spots? How are you let your
I started off trying to be more specific with what I wanted, and I thought that would be better because I'd had friends that had done that. And when I just shifted to more of just, hey, what's your normal recommendation, you know, just kind of splitting it up throughout the day and the evening, I actually found I got a lot better return that way, because with my target, I mean, those people are up in the middle of the night. They're, you know, there's people that are working, there's people that are not working. So they're all over the place as far as what I'm after. So it really helped me more just kind of be spread across the board versus just being in one specific time frame where somebody that's maybe at the office isn't going to see me on the Dr. Oz show. But the people sitting at home would. So we just want to get as many different avenues as possible.
And you know, you become a celebrity in your community. You are the man. And I saw it, like this guy, when patients coming in, they were excited to see him, right? Am I lying or what? They were like, oh, hey, I know that guy. Like, tell them, like, how do they, like, they feel like they know you after seeing so many commercials, and it worked with me too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's really funny because since I'm not in the office on the day-to-day basis. And there's people that are signed up and have been doing our program for a few weeks, even a couple of months, and I've never met them. And so when I'm in, training the team or something, if we run late and then they're walking in already, they want to get pictures with me, and it's kind of funny. They come up, and so my team's always ready to get their camera out and take pictures just for something we can post on our social media and stuff. But yeah, it's really interesting. And everywhere I go, I go to a men's Bible study, and people come up to like, hey, how do I know you? Like, oh, did I see on TV? Yeah, probably.
So, you want to command that you are the expert in your, and by the way, you've got competition. I know there's other guys in Des Moines that are rocking and rolling as well. I mean, so in your friends, you guys are in the same group, correct? I mean,
Yep.
Competition is good. That doesn't scare you.
Nope, not at all.
Tell me a little bit about, I think the most phenomenal thing about visiting your clinics and meeting your different teams is how you built these guys. Like, they will take a bullet for this guy. I mean, they love you. Can you go into a little bit of the principles of what you did? There was a really cool book that you recommended. And if you could kind of go through the steps that you used to build that vision and share that your vision with them, and then it became their vision. Can you give us some insight?
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, I've got a lot of books I recommend, so I don't know which one you're talking about, but that gave it away. Okay.
Yeah.
So my team, one of the things I noticed when you're trying to build your office, no matter what you're trying to grow, a lot of times with your team, it kind of feels like you're pushing this boulder up a hill. And so for me, there's a book called Traction. It's based on EOS. They've got several books. Traction, Rocket Fuel, What the Heck is EOS, How to Be a Great Boss. So we've got a few books there, but the Traction book is really kind of like the first, I think it's their first one, and really the staple of kind of what they do. But there's an exercise in there called the Vision Traction Organizer. And you can actually type in EOS, EOS and then space VTO in a search engine, and it'll pull you right up to their website. Put in your information. You can download this PDF for free. But what I did is actually, it was during our 2020 year, we sat down with our team, and we used this Vision Traction Organizer to really kind of paint a picture of where we were going. So basically, it starts off, what are your core values for your clinic? And so we literally just spent, a couple, 3 hours that first year over a lunch break. I think we did it that first time. And we worked through this whole 2 pages, just 2 pages. So it's not super long, but we worked through it together and came up with some core values. What's our core focus or our market? What's the niche that we're after? What's a 10-year vision of this clinic look like? What's the 3-year vision, 1-year vision? And then you break it down into like those 90-day rocks. Like, what do we need to do the next 90 days to achieve our goal this year? Mm-hmm. And as we went through that, it was really interesting because, I had some bigger goals in mind by that point after our first year with Blueprint. And, we were talking numbers and we talked about 10-year vision, and my staff was throwing out these numbers that would basically have doubled our clinic in 10 years. And to me, I'm thinking, what on earth are you talking about? We almost tripled this year, and it's going to take us 10 more years to double our practice. Like, no, we've got to do way more better than that. But it's kind of funny because as we went through this workshop, or after we went through these sheets together, like I would just kind of read the description of each section. So what's a core value? And I'd read some, give some examples, then we would brainstorm together what that was. And as we went through that, I saw their mind to start to expand. And that was what was so cool with this. And by the time we got to it the next year, we always review the core values, just make sure. I want people to really feel those, not just a word on the wall, but I want to make sure we feel each of those. And so we went through the core values. The very next thing is, where do you see us in 10 years? And the staff started throwing out numbers, and it was like, I was taken back because it was bigger than what I was anticipating for our 10-year target at that point. And so how I explain it is, they started to take ownership of the practice. It wasn't just a job for them. They started to take ownership. They started to see what we could do in terms of helping people. And now they were all in on it. So instead of me pushing a boulder up a hill, I was just jogging along with the leash, just kind of guiding them where to go with it. So it was really cool transformation.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'll tell you, they have ownership in that clinic, and you've got, some rock stars there that are, again, you're the CEO. You're working on your business. You're putting the right people in the right place, and you get to focus on tweaking that marketing. And what other tips do you like from marketing? So, I mean, um, you do some TV, you obviously do some digital ad spend. Is there anything else that you give to our docs that you like?
Uh, I mean, I can't say I dislike any form of marketing. I would say the biggest mistake I made in the past with marketing was if someone brought something to me that was really cheap, I thought, oh, sure, I could do a $300 ad at the bowling alley. That's the perfect place to find new patients, right? Everybody's looking for their chiropractor at the bowling alley.
Yeah.
Um, so I would say don't look for cheap things. Kind of like, if you're hiring an associate or looking to put some big investment into your practice, take $1,000 or $2,000 a month and just put it into a separate account, and like you don't even know it's there. And after a couple months, just see how you're doing. And if you don't really miss that money too much, then hey, take that and plug it into something and start using that to invest. People think of marketing as an expense, but when you can turn it out, right? If you say, hey, it takes one patient to break even on this, great. I would do that all day. If it has the possibility to bring in 50, let's do it, because any ROI, even if it's 1-to-1, you didn't lose any money. So if you can get that money back relatively quickly, don't be afraid to spend it. That's the biggest thing.
And test it. Like, what do you when you're branching into a new vertical or a new media, what do you how much time do you give it before you pull the plug?
Typically, I tell people about 90 days is what I would do. You've got to give things some time to work, and every marketing is a little bit different, right? Like you may not want to spend 90 days on the radio if it's not producing things right away. But you want to give it time to work, and you have to treat any marketing you do, you have to treat those people as an employee. So you wouldn't bring in a new front desk person and say, okay, here's what I want as the front desk. I want you to answer phones and schedule patients, and then walk away. And then 3 months later, come check on them and say, okay, how many people have you scheduled? Well, none. I didn't know what I was supposed to say. And they had all these questions about insurance. And well, obviously that's not going to work. So when you're starting off with a new marketing program, stay with them. Like I would say every week you should be on a call with them talking about, the leads, the new patients, the calls, whatever it is, depending on what the route is that you're getting with that marketing company. But you need to be on calls with them weekly, breaking things down and figuring out how to tweak things to make it better. So that way you can continue to go. And once they get to a certain point, I mean, I've got a company I've been using for almost 3 years now for Facebook. I talk to him basically at our quarterly meetings and get-togethers, but it's usually not even much about business. It's just chatting, because I know he's doing what he needs to do, because I see the numbers on my end and things are consistent. And so I don't need to be harassing him constantly just to be spending time on the phone with him. So, but at the beginning, it was much more regimented because we needed to get things figured out and dialed in. And now, if there's any issues come up, hey, what's going on? This is not working like it was. Oh, well, Facebook changed their algorithm. We're trying to get everything on our end done. Okay. Usually he's already ahead of it anyway, but it's at least you need to be in touch with them and let them know what's going on, because they can't, if they don't hear from you, they assume things are going well.
And data's king, right? You can't make
Yep.
emotional decisions. You've got to track your numbers. Tell us the systems you have in place. How do you know what's working? You're obviously tracking where all your new patients are coming from. Start with the phones. You have your own phone system, or you use an outside source? How do you do that?
Yeah. I mean, we just have regular phones, but we have several tracking numbers that we use for different marketing pieces. So we know, how many calls are coming from NBC, how many calls are coming from CBS, all that stuff. But then internally we're tracking, I mean, everything from, patients scheduled, patients that showed up. And then we've got, percentages of what's our show rate, new patient show rate, day 1 to day 2 show rate. So we just track everything. So everybody in the office, we just have like a Google sheet that we can share with all the team members. So everybody has access to it. Everybody's responsible for putting in their data. So case managers putting in the day 1, day 2 in for information. The associate's putting in his stuff for like Cairo new patients and ROFs. The front desk is putting in, people, leads called, leads scheduled, all that stuff, regular visits. And then I put in the financial aspect of it. So basically everybody can see at a glance where we're at any point of time in the month. So it keeps track of, day to day, keeps track of weekly totals and month to date totals. So we can see everything at a glance anytime.
We're going to do a special call this Friday for our members just to show, I'm going to let you look behind the dashboard of my clinic and what my operations guy does and what he's doing on a daily, weekly, monthly basis, yearly. You can see some of our numbers that we're going to do. So, and obviously that's the key to success. Quickly, what's the worst marketing? Like I did a $10,000, $3,300 a month radio ad right before Christmas a few years ago. And I spent 3 months and I got 1 patient. Right. And I spent $10,000 on it and I didn't make 10,000. So what's your worst marketing move you ever did?
Well, my worst marketing move was probably the $300 bowling alley ad, to be honest.
Well, that's good. That was only it.
No,
how about billboards? Do you do billboards?
I don't. A guy keeps emailing me like every other day about it, but I have not tried that yet. Wouldn't say I'm opposed to it, but I don't know if I see the value in it yet. Yeah, I mean, I always just look at the potential ROI. I mean, like there's the ones that have been so big, kind of like what you're talking about. There's a radio station here. It's the big radio station, 10:40 a.m. Everybody listens to it. But I mean, it's like $15,000 a month just for that one station for ads on that. So it's something that I'm like, okay, I could do it, but is the ROI going to be there? So I've held off on pulling the trigger on it. But I haven't had too many where I dumped a ton of money into something and just didn't do much.
Have you, what do you think so much about softwave? You've had it for about a month now. We did a great couple training days. What's your take right now? What was your takeaway from the training days? What's your staff think? Give me some feedback there.
Yeah, I mean, everybody loves it. I mean, it's not hard to sell, that's for sure. I mean, it's if you take a good consultation process and then add it in with the discovery process, like you should be able to sell that all day long like nothing. And then when you start to combine it with other things, you start to combine your chiropractic program or whatever else you're doing with this, that's where you start to get those case fees where now it's not like I have to get 40 new patients to pay for my ad spend. I only need 1 or 2 people to come in and convert to cover that. And now everything else is just gravy.
I think one of the coolest things that I learned from you is that you're not going to take no for an answer. They're going to dig down and find, right. Can you kind of touch on a little bit of that? I know that you could go on for a half hour on that, but just give us some of your high points on that. Like when someone's like, well, I got to go home and think about it, or I got to check with my wife, and give us, I mean, it seemed like you had some really great counterpoints to anybody's issues.
Yeah, I mean, really, it's going to come down to the confidence in you selling whatever it is you're selling, right? It doesn't matter if it's chiropractic or softwave or whatever. Like I asked you about that as far as your belief in softwave, right? I asked you, is it more beneficial than a stem cell injection? What was your answer?
I said, in the algorithm of healthcare, we don't start with the most expensive, most invasive, right? We're going to exhaust every alternative, non-invasive option first. And, that's my belief. I live it, I breathe it, and my patients hear it every day. So yeah, my certainty is there. So
yeah. But when I asked you that, when I said, would 12 softwave sessions be more beneficial than a single stem cell injection, what was your answer?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I
So
said,
you're saying we should charge as much as, at some point, And that's one of the reasons I wanted to bring you in, because you changed my mindset. I told you I want to be the Mother Teresa, and I've got to get away from being the Mother Teresa of softwave, right? I do want everyone to have access to this, but I also want to get paid. And so dig deep a little bit more, like where you're going with that.
Yeah, so basically my point is, if you fully believe, which you didn't even hesitate, you're like, oh, absolutely, right? So you didn't even hesitate. So my question was, well, why are you charging $700 for it? Right? If it's more valuable than a $5,000 to $7,000 stem cell injection, why aren't we charging at least close to that? We don't have to try to match them or cost or charge more than them, but people also value what they purchase, right? If you've got a $30,000 Honda and you've got a $100,000 BMW, which do you value more? You value the BMW, right? And so the more people are spending, they're going to value what you're doing for them more. So that's where, to me, it's we've got to charge more, not because we want to rip people off or not because we just want to make more money. It's we want to create more value for them, and I want them to be more invested in what we're doing. I mean, people will drop $700 and they do a couple of visits and they back off. Well, if they invest $5,000, they're going to be a little more invested in therapy. They're going to listen to what I'm telling them about what they need to do for their diet, or they need to get better sleep, or whatever else I'm recommending, because now they're invested into what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's the biggest takeaway. And I have to get away. I was one of the first to bring this to chiropractic. I was the first, and my mindset was like, I want to show everybody this. And like, I created this $49 introductory offer, and I gave away everything in the kitchen sink, because I just wanted to prove to people that it would work. Well, guess what, boys? We've proved it. After we are 650 clinics, we're at Harvard, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic. It's time that we step up our game, and I'll be the first to say, like, I have to change my mindset. And Dr. Olson was really awesome at really expanding the way I wanted to think about this. So I appreciate you, and I'm hoping you'll come on more. And I see you as a great team member here, and helping us take it to the next level. This is new. This is not many people know what softwave is, but they're starting to hear it more. And guys like you that have a really great marketing mindset, and Kyle Bowers is the same way. I can't wait to have Kyle on, because Kyle uses a multi approach to getting the message out to his community as well as you are. In closing, and I know this is family night for you, and I really appreciate you. I'm down at the beach with my family, but I worked my tail off all day. But I'm about to grab dinner with him. Where do you see softwave, and how does it become part of your, the fabric of your clinic, and how do you see it?
Well, it's kind of interesting because it's kind of different for each clinic. The one clinic, it was instantaneously, this is just an add-on to what we do for our patients already. So every program is getting softwave as part of their program with us. And then the other clinic, it's kind of more of a launch pad to help accelerate the practice, get some money in the door and cash flow, so we can start to market everything else that we do. So they're kind of different phases in both clinics, just because the clinics are at different stages of their development,
their growth.
Yeah.
And you've got a really cool mindset as well. You built just one baby in Des Moines, Iowa, that is rocking and rolling, and then you purchased one down in Kansas City, and that might be collecting 12 or 14,000 a month. It's in its infancy state, if you may, but very quickly, softwave could actually match what you're doing in chiropractic down there, right?
Oh, easily.
And so it can be a new patient magnet for you, and I think that's really cool. And can you talk about what your next step is? Like, how are you building this? Is the Nebraska thing going to happen? Where are you at?
Hopefully. We're just finalizing some details on that, but
I mean, you're looking at your third clinic, and and purchasing, and you take it, you bring in your little Midas touch and you make it more profitable. What's your vision? Where do you stop? Do you do 3, 5, 10? I mean, can you give us some insight into that brain of yours?
Sound like my wife
I
keeps
know.
asking me.
I'm sorry. I'm torturing you.
I don't know. To be honest. And there's another book I'll throw out there just because I think everyone on this call could benefit from it. Because when you're in this profession, you get around people doing some really cool things. And what I've found is if you chase someone else's dreams, you'll get there and it'll be all for nothing. And you really be disappointed in where you're at. So the book's called The Gap and the Gain by Dan Sullivan. The first book we talked about was Traction, in case I didn't make that clear. But so The Gap and the Gain is the book. And this book goes through and the basic premise is it's talking about, you know, looking back instead of always forward, right? Like most of us are always setting our goals, we're looking to reach those goals. And, you know, as soon as we even get close to those goals, we're pushing the goal line further away. But it's taking time to pause and look back where you came from to be like, wow, I can't believe how far I've come, you know, during this time frame. And so that's kind of the basic premise of it. But all throughout the book, he's got different you know, questions that you just stop and journal about. And I just took this with me to the beach one time when we were on vacation, my wife and and I just spent time on the beach every day, just reading through the book and filling out the questions and really processing, what do I want, right? What does success look like for me? Not, am I chasing, you know, someone else's vision of success all the time? Because I did that. And, you know, I got to that point where we were doing really big things, but it just wasn't doing it for me. And so that's where now, like I said, I can't really answer the question because for me, it's just really about growth and just continued growth. So I want to challenge myself every day, every week, every month, every year. So I'm just always trying to see what can I achieve that I haven't been able to achieve yet. And there's really no, you know, once I achieve this, I'll be good. It's just, I just love the challenge really more than anything.
That's awesome. I mean, I love taking you are one of the most humble human beings I've ever met. I think you're doing it for the right reasons. And it was really exciting to kind of get a glimpse into how you're building this mini empire that you're doing. And you know, I was really psyched to share a lot of my stuff and what I've done over the last 20 years. But it was really cool to see how you've really built it, and really in a short time. I mean, the last 3 or 4 years and what you've done. So very grateful. Any questions from anyone out there before I want to be respectful of Dr. Olson's time, and we will have him back on. He's an unofficial coach right now, and you guys, we'd like to bring him on more and into a bigger position if his time allows. But yeah, any other questions? Yeah, besides TV, digital ads, and low tech like direct mail, are you doing anything else? Are you doing lunch and learns or doctor dinner talks, anything like that? Did you have success with those in the past?
We've done seminars. We're moving them. We've been doing them in the office, so we are moving them to a restaurant again. Just see if we can't get a better turnout. That was our only issue. We just didn't have a great turnout in the office, and so we decided to go back to the restaurants and try it again. So that was probably my one of my bigger wastes of money last year. Is just when I looked at the numbers, it was pretty costly for us, and that's why you always want to look at your data. Most people that I find run their practice based off of how they feel. So always looking at your numbers, you know, daily, weekly, monthly, know where you're at with things, and then that's going to really help guide you. But radio, we do some radio as well. I don't think that's been the best for us, but you know, the thing with marketing is don't follow what anybody's doing just because they're doing well with something. Every area of the country is going to be different. I had one of my best friends opened up, or he had a shop down in Florida, Southern Florida. And when he finally came into Blueprint, he literally did everything that I did. And he struggled for months trying to get things going. But once I kept telling him, just keep trying things, you'll figure it out. And once he took off like crazy, and it was really cool to see. But and that's why you can't depend on what somebody else is succeeding with, because it could be totally different in your market.
Yeah, and I built my neuropathy clinic on Lunch and Learns, and we're going to launch that hopefully in April. And I'll really we have direct mail, and I think this will only be available for our Shockwave Business Academy. Dr. Mayer, awesome, says thank you for sharing your vision and your heart. God bless. Eric, we may have to get into this a little bit more. I may connect you, but he'd like to know more about the process of how you handle new patients in the system of bringing them in for chiros and offering other services. But yeah, I mean, they come in for softwave. And do you have any ideas or goals and targets for your team? Like what your conversion rate would be for softwave? I mean, are you guys putting any numbers out there right now for?
I mean, for the new location, I think I have 85% conversion rate is what I have for them as the goal.
That's the goal.
Yeah, because I mean, like I said, software
that's
easy to sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's the highest case acceptance I've ever seen in 28 years. So that's new people walking in. Steve Gumpenberger, who's he's not on this call, but he is part of our group. He's an amazing dude. He had like a 2.5-year record of 91% conversion for his existing patients and 87% on people walking in off the street. So those are like the high benchmarks. Thank you, Doc. I'd love to hear about your weekend with the Black Diamond Club. It looked wonderful. Some great food, some good people. I'm really sore from doing my 100 push-ups and son of a gun, but I'm gonna do it tomorrow as well. And thank you so much. Dr. Gump is in the house. I love it. And just a shout out to him. We're gonna have him on as well. But thanks again, my man. Really appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you. Have a good night.